Another country heard alone with you. That's great. What? Really?
Good morning. It is so wonderful to be in this space yet again, this space that by us being here, online, and here physically present, this space becomes a place for us. It becomes a place where we get to encounter God, the Spirit, the resurrected Christ in a meaningful and amazing way. So it is so good to be in this place with you all on this morning. I want to welcome everyone to worship here at Richmond Beach Christian Church, Disciples of Christ. We've got a pew full of kids. 2 pews, we've got 2.5 kids floating around, and several pews of those of us that are still very much young at heart. I want to offer some announcements as we are centering ourselves for worship, as we are gathering ourselves from the week that has been and in anticipation of the week that is coming. Let us ground ourselves in this moment. So some announcements, some things I want to share and let folks know about. We are welcoming the regional minister, Bill Spangler-Dunning, to worship this morning. Now, we resemble each other a lot. He's the one in purple. When you get a chance to meet him, and speaking of meeting him more formally, after worship outside the pavilion, there is a meet and greet. A few light snacks to be had, an opportunity to sort of chit chat. We had planned this 2 years ago, I think, when you first came out here, Bill, and then, things happened. So we're thrilled that you are here on this day. Other announcements, things going up. I want to remind folks that the gift garden is still going to town. The winter crops are in, so make sure to take note of those things. Tuesday, we are having our open-air chapel, weather permitting, as long as it's not storming on us and whatnot. We've got lights outside, so we want to invite folks to come out for that. It's a different sort of worship experience. That's at 6:30 on Tuesday. Are there other announcements that I need to lift up? I saw a hand. I'm going to shuffle to the side here. It's the announcements that make me uncomfortable.
So the month of October is Pastor Appreciation Month. And we want to make it very clear at Virginia Beach Christian Church that we appreciate ministers all year long, not just the month of October or today. But this is especially exciting because we have 2 ministers here today. So I'm going to ask Reverend Bill to come up first. And we have a little gift of appreciation for you. This is goodies to get him home, including a Starbucks card, so you'll stay away. We really appreciate that you're coming. And now we have a box full for David. And we just appreciate, if there's ever a year we need to do a pastor appreciation, it's this last year, where he has learned to be a televangelist and how to hook up all kinds of equipment that we've never used before, and how to go with the flow outside. And we just want to say as a congregation, we really appreciate it this year and all you've done for us. Thank you so much. And your brownies inside. And because a pastor's job really includes his family, we would like to ask the Case family to come up. Everybody, all 4 of you. So, Francis, which one of these do you think is for you? You think maybe the blue? Oh, good, that is for you. You're bright. And these 2 daughters are the best readers I think I've ever seen in my life. So, Ella Grace, this is a gift card to Barnes & Nobles. And Joanna, this one's for you. And certainly, one person is a huge support and a necessary item for a pastor, I think, is a pastor's wife. And so this is something for you to take to school, all right? And Brooke has not only done all of these things, but she teaches full-time. And, you know, again, what a year for a teacher. So thank you from the whole congregation to all of you. Give them a big applause.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it a great deal. Are there any other announcements on this morning? Going once, going twice. So, let's center ourselves then as we orient ourselves completely toward God in this time of worship. Amazing God, we give you thanks for the opportunity of this moment. The congregation of faith that we find ourselves part of, physically present online, whenever and wherever we may be. We are reminded that not only are you there, O God, but there's a community of faith that is embracing, that is supporting, loving, and surrounding, and we give you thanks. And so we gather in response to that community's love that is a symbol of your love. We gather in response to the provocations of the spirits. We gather in response to the resurrected Christ, to the empty tomb. We gather to worship. And so we lift up the things of the week that was and the week that will be. We come with our hopes and our dreams, our concerns and our joys, and we worship you, O God, in thought, in word, and in deed. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. I want to invite the rest of the young disciples to come up. So for those who are watching on Facebook, I'm going to disappear. You just have to listen to the dulcet tones, of my voice, and the wisdom of all of these kids. Oh, this is fantastic. I almost wore orange today. Why would I want to wear orange today? Cheese? Orange cheese? No. Why would I want wear orange today. It's Halloween. Today is Halloween. Are you sure? You know, I did hear a couple of adults saying something about getting some extra candy today. Are you all going to share your candy? Yeah. You have to get some? All right. No, wait a minute. Orange for Halloween. So what do we do on Halloween usually? What kind of stuff do we do? We go trick-or-treating. Do you just sort of wander around, just you know, as you are? Yeah. Do you change your clothes?
What do you do for Halloween?
You get dressed up? Yeah. We dressed up, we put on different clothes. We pretend to be something else. So what kind of things might we pretend to be today? A queen fairy? Oh, I like that. You're going to be a fairy also? Elsa, the ice cream?
She might have already got it to
Are
candy.
you? Hermione Granger from Harry Potter? Oh, that's brilliant. A ghost? Oh, we can pretend to be so many things. It is fun to dress up. I'm dressed up today, aren't I? Yeah, I'm dressed up today. Yeah, I'm dressed up. But I don't go trick-or-treating like this. Because if I show up at your door dressed like this, that might be a little too scary. Right? Might be a little too scary. Yeah, maybe. It is good to dress up and to pretend and to play around. It is good to explore all the creative things we can do to imagine. To imagine that we can be something else that is fun and amazing. And I want to encourage that. I want to encourage you to be the best fairy princess or Hermione Granger and Ghost and Elsa. Be the best you can be tonight when you go around. To use your pleases and your thank yous. Because there are good things, amazing things. Because God has given you an imagination. And you can make this world better by using it. So have fun tonight, okay? Be safe, do the good things, all right? Please and thank yous. Let's give thanks to God. Creative God, you have given these kids some amazing imaginations, and the adults that are responsible for them. You have given this community a gift, the gift of possibility. May we, on this day, when we get dressed up, when we go around, when we use our please and thank yous, when we go and do God, may we be the best we can be, using all of the gifts that you have given us. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
The first reading is from Psalm 107, verses 1 through 3 and 23 to 32. Thanksgiving for deliverance for many troubles. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, those he redeemed from trouble and gathered in from the lands, from east and from west, from north and from the south. Some went down to the sea in ships, doing business in mighty waters. They saw the deeds of the Lord, his wondrous works in the deep. For he commanded and raised the stormy wind, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They mounted up to heaven, they went down to the depths.
Their courage melted away in their calamity. They reeled and staggered like drunkards and were at their wits' end. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. He made the storm still, and the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad because they had quiet, and he brought them to their desired haven. Let them thank the Lord for his steadfast love, for his wonderful works to humankind. Let them extol him in the congregation of the people, and praise him in the assembly of the elders. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Almost don't want to break the spell of the moment. We experience all sorts of blessings throughout the week, throughout the month. The vibrations of music as they tickle and stir the soul. Moments of kindness and smiles, words that are offered, however words may be offered, balloons that cheer. We give thanks for those things. Thanks to those who bring them to us, and thanks to the God who so inspires such acts of love and kindness. We return our thanks in many ways. In the good work that we do, to the best of our abilities in any given moment. We give thanks to the making and the fulfilling of pledges, through other gifts and offerings that are made. Not just to support the mission and ministry of this particular congregation, but the broader Christian church, disciples of Christ, and the realm that is breaking in. We give of time, of talent, of treasure that God has entrusted us with. And so let us dedicate those gifts now. Those that have been given, those that are being offered on this day, and those that are yet to come, as we join our voices together in the singing of the doxology.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
It is an honor to be with you, and I want to begin just with the word itself, coming from the Gospel of Mark. You will know the text of this, at least you will know what the story comes before. It is the story we've heard since we were children, of the feeding of the 5,000, this great miracle, and then we have this text about disciples. So immediately, he made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead to the other side of Bethsaida while he dismissed the crowd. After saying farewell to them, he went up on the mountain to pray. And when evening came, the boat was out on the sea, and he was alone on the land. When he saw that they were straining at the oars against an adverse wind, he came towards them early in the morning, walking on the sea. He intended to pass them by. But when they saw him walking on the sea, they, his disciples, thought that it was a ghost and cried out. For they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And then he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. And they, his disciples, were astounded, for they did not understand about the loaves. Their hearts hardened. May God add a blessing, and maybe an understanding to these words. Before I begin, I need to do a couple things. One, I want to thank your pastor. You may not even know it, but this region has been experiencing an extreme increase in ministry candidates, both in our commissioning program and our ordination path. We tripled in the last year and a half. And your pastor serves on that committee, and actually we allow him to stay here and meet by video. So it really saves time and lets us really come together as a whole region without the burden of a 4.5-hour drive for a couple-hour meeting. So simply thank you for your time. I also need to do a couple things. One, I need to add a disclaimer and a confession from your regional minister. The disclaimer is this. Almost now about 7 years ago, I experienced Bell's palsy on the left side of my face and couldn't preach for 6 weeks. But now, later all this time, when I get passionate in preaching, this eye will wink. If I'm looking at you, I don't mean anything extra. And my confession. I am I am a perfectionist. I just like to get things right. I like to plan things out and prepare and sort of be that mediator. I just like everybody to get along and all things to go great. And maybe if you are today, listen closely. This message might be for you. But even if you're not, maybe there's a word here today. But I am a perfectionist, and I confess that to you, but I've been trying my hardest. But I come by this trait, I think honestly, growing up in the church. Because it was my Sunday school teacher who actually taught me about these disciples. You know, she was so passionate about making sure that we knew about Jesus and his disciples, and she would teach us in such a way that as a child, I was left to assume that the disciples were perfect, or at least the best that you could be as a human being, because she always would say as we were leaving, rise and be like the disciples. So I think I developed my perfectionistic parts of me early on in Sunday school. This trait is really important for me. It really affects me, particularly when I come around. Every single Sunday, I am in some church in Virginia, 135 of them. And if I do my best and get around to all of them, it takes about 5.5, 6 years, if all things go right. So I know coming here that if I get this sermon wrong, it will be the last thing you remember about your regional ministry. A lot of pressure. I get it. So I have a little perfection piece in me. But mostly this perfection part of me comes out with my family. Because I am that child in our family that is the mediator. I am the translator. I am the make everything okay kind of child. And so when it comes to family stuff, that perfection piece comes out in me. And the one time I remember it coming out really the most is when I was bringing home for the first time my eventual wife to meet the family. I don't know about your family, but my family is, well, they have a lot of strange things about them. Maybe your family doesn't, but my family have a lot of idiosyncrasies that I always feel as a perfectionist, I need to explain to people before they meet my parents. I mean, I'm the tallest in my family. And that's important because when my parents bought their house, it was different. I mean, they wanted to remodel it to fit them, and including things like they moved the shower head from here to here, so it was perfect for them. They downsized or shrank the actual bathroom. They thought it was too big, so they made it smaller. They actually redid all their doors so that the doors all were smaller into their size, and so that's important because the first time I'm bringing home Amy, my eventual now wife, I was trying to think of all the things that might scare her away. So I'm telling her about the house and all kinds of things. I'm telling her about everything I can think of. And we had plenty of time because we were in the car from Kentucky back to Iowa, rural Iowa. And in those 13 hours in the car, I thought I was able to tell her everything. So we pull up to the house, we go in, and I'm kind of worried that I haven't caught everything, but I'm pretty sure I had these 13 hours of telling Amy everything I could think of. We walk in, and my parents immediately reach out and give both of us hugs, and we laugh, and we're crying, and it's just, I haven't seen them in a long time. But it had been 13 hours in the car, so.